Ever heard of a girl who could float? Not in a pool, but in her own bedroom, lifted by some unseen force? This isn't a scene from a movie. This is the chilling, true story of a young girl from Iowa in the 1920s. A case so strange, it became a cornerstone for paranormal investigators and even inspired classic horror films. Our story begins in a small, quiet town with a family just like any other. But their peaceful life was shattered when their teenage daughter, let's call her Anna, began experiencing terrifying phenomena. It started subtly, objects moving on their own, strange knocks on the walls. The family, deeply religious, initially thought it was a prank, but things escalated quickly. Whispers in a language no one recognized would echo through the house, seeming to come from Anna herself, though her lips wouldn't move. Food would spoil instantly in her presence, and a foul, sulfur-like odor would hang in the air around her. Frightened, her parents sought help from doctors, who found no medical explanation for her condition. They were at a loss. Desperate, they turned to their local church. This is when the case took a turn that would make it legendary. A respected priest, experienced in matters of faith, was assigned to investigate. He began a diary, documenting every unsettling event. He wrote of Anna speaking in ancient languages she had never studied, revealing secrets about people she had never met. Her body would contort into impossible positions, and she displayed strength far beyond that of a young girl. The priest and his team decided the only course of action was an exorcism. The process was grueling, lasting for weeks. According to eyewitness accounts, this is when the most famous event occurred. During one of the rituals, multiple witnesses, including a doctor and several clergy members, saw Anna's body slowly rise from the bed. She floated, suspended in midair, for several minutes before gently settling back down. The room would inexplicably become as cold, and symbols would appear on her skin, as if burned from within. The team documented over 20 different voices speaking from Anna, each with its own distinct personality. They were witnessing something that defied all known laws of science and reason. After months of intense spiritual battle, the phenomena finally began to subside. The strange voices fell silent. The unexplained events ceased, and Anna slowly returned to her normal self. She later claimed to have no memory of the entire ordeal, a blank space in her life where these terrifying events had unfolded. The official records of this case, including the priest's detailed diary, are still studied today. Skeptics have tried to explain it away as hysteria or a clever hoax, but they can't account for the multiple credible witnesses who all swore they saw the same impossible things. What really happened in that Iowa bedroom? Was it a psychological break, or was Anna truly in the grip of something beyond our understanding? The case of the girl who floated remains one of the most compelling and terrifying exorcism accounts in modern history. A stark reminder that some mysteries may never be fully solved. Thanks for joining me on this dive into the unknown. If you found this story as fascinating as I did, make sure to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the world's strangest mysteries. See you next time. Have you ever felt like you weren't alone in your own home? For the Ramirez family, that feeling became a terrifying reality. In the quiet suburbs of a small town, they bought their dream Husa beautiful 2-story home with a sprawling yard. It seemed perfect. But soon after moving in, the dream turned into a nightmare. It started subtly. A misplaced set of keys, a door left ajar that they were sure they had closed. They brushed it off as the stress of moving. But then, the whispers began. Faint, almost inaudible murmurs seemed to drift from empty rooms. The children, Maria and Carlos, started complaining about a man they saw in their closets. A tall figure with dark, hollow eyes. Their parents, David and Isabella tried to comfort them, blaming overactive imaginations. But they couldn't deny it for long. One evening, as Isabella was cooking dinner, every single cabinet in the kitchen flew open at once, slamming against the walls with incredible force. The house went cold, and a guttural laugh echoed from the upstairs hallway. That was the moment they knew they were not alone. Their home was occupied by something malevolent. The activity escalated with terrifying speed. Objects would fly across rooms, shattering against walls. Dark, fleeting shadows darted in their peripheral vision. The smell of decay would suddenly fill the air, only to vanish moments later. The family began to see the apparition of a man, gaunt and grim, standing at the end of hallways or at the foot of their beds, just watching them with an unsettling stillness. Sleep became a luxury they could no longer afford. As their nights were filled with disembodied screams and the sound of heavy footsteps pacing the halls. Desperate, David and Isabella started researching the history of their property. What they uncovered chilled them to the bone. Decades earlier, the house had belonged to a man named Silas, a recluse who had vanished without a trace. Local legends said he had practiced dark rituals in the basement, and his spirit was now bound to the land, enraged by anyone who dared to live in his home. The Ramirez family weren't just experiencing a haunting. They were being targeted by a possessive and violent entity. They brought in paranormal investigators and spiritual advisors. During one intense investigation, electronic voice phenomena, or EVP recorders, captured a chilling message. Amidst the static, a clear, raspy voice growled, "Get out." The investigators reported extreme temperature drops and felt an overwhelming sense of dread, with some even being physically pushed by an unseen force. It was clear Silas wanted the family gone, and he was growing more powerful and more aggressive with each passing day. The breaking point came one fateful night. The entire house began to shake violently, as if in the grip of an earthquake. The children's screams tore through the home as their bedroom doors slammed shut and locked from the outside. David and Isabella threw themselves against the doors, their hearts pounding with pure terror. From inside the rooms, they could hear the menacing laughter of Silas, mingling with the terrified cries of their children. In that moment of sheer panic, they knew they had to abandon everything. They broke down the doors, grabbed their kids, and fled into the night, leaving all their possessions behind. They never returned. The Ramirez house stands empty to this day, a silent monument to the terror that unfolded within its walls. Locals still report seeing lights flicker in the windows and a tall, dark figure watching from the upstairs bedroom. The story serves as a chilling reminder that some places are best left undisturbed, and some spirits never, ever rest. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as chilling as I did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more tales from the dark side. Stay safe out there. Have you ever felt that prickle on the back of your neck when you're home alone? That sudden, gut-wrenching feeling that you're not actually by yourself? We often dismiss it as just our imagination, our minds playing tricks on us in the dead of night. But what if it wasn't a trick? What if that chilling sensation, that paralyzing fear, was exactly what something wanted you to feel? Tonight, we delve into a story that blurs the line between psychological dread and supernatural horror. It's the tale of the entity known only as the Fear-Eater, a demon that doesn't haunt houses or possess people in the traditional sense. No, its methods are far more insidious, far more personal. It doesn't want your soul. It wants your terror. Our story begins with a young artist named Maya. She was a woman who lived a vibrant life, but she carried a heavy burden, an anxiety disorder that often cast a long, dark shadow over her days. It started subtly. A misplaced brush, a flicker of the lights she'd blame on faulty wiring. a shadow in her peripheral vision that vanished when she turned to look. She chalked it up to stress, to her anxiety flaring up. She tried to rationalize it, telling herself it was all in her head. But the incidents grew more frequent, more specific, and always seemed to strike when her anxiety was at its peak. One evening, while working late on a painting, she felt an overwhelming wave of panic. Her heart hammered against her ribs, her breath hitched. Then she heard it, a faint, dry whisper, like dead leaves skittering across pavement, seeming to come from every corner of her studio at once. The whisper wasn't in any language she knew, yet she understood its intent perfectly. It was mocking her, savoring her distress. The more she panicked, the stronger the presence felt, the louder the whispers grew. It was a vicious cycle. Her fear was its nourishment. This is the terrifying nature of the fear-eater. It's a parasitic entity, drawn to individuals plagued by deep-seated anxieties, phobias, and traumas. It doesn't create the fear out of thin air. It latches onto the fear that's already there. It prods and pokes at your deepest insecurities, magnifying them, turning a small worry into an all-consuming dread. It customizes its hauntings. If you're afraid of spiders, you might start seeing them everywhere, just out of the corner of your eye. If you have social anxiety, the whispers might mimic the judgmental voices you imagine in a crowd. Maya's life began to unravel. Sleep offered no escape as the demon invaded her dreams, turning them into hyper-realistic nightmares. Her friends grew concerned as she became more withdrawn, unable to explain the invisible tormentor that was feasting on her sanity. She was trapped in a prison of her own mind, with the demon as her warden. It was a perfect predator, leaving no physical evidence, only a victim slowly being drained of their life force, their spirit, their will to live, all through the power of their own fear. Desperate, Maya started researching folklore and obscure paranormal texts. Searching for anything that resembled her experience, she found scattered references across different cultures to shadow beings, emotional vampires, spirits that fed on negative human energy. And in one dusty, forgotten tome, she found a name, the Aknos, an ancient Greek term for a creature that consumes sorrow and dread. The book offered a sliver of hope. It said the demon was powerful, but it had a weakness. Since it fed on fear, it was powerless without it. The key to defeating it wasn't an exorcism or a holy relic. It was to starve it. To conquer the fear-eater, Maya had to conquer her own fear. This was the ultimate battle, a war waged not with weapons, but with willpower. It seemed impossible. How do you stop being afraid when a literal monster is amplifying your every anxiety? Maya started small. She began practicing mindfulness, forcing herself to stay in the present moment when panic set in. When the whispers started, she would light a candle and focus on its flame. Breathing deeply, repeating a mantra, "You are not real. Your power comes from me, and I take it back." It was excruciating. The entity fought back, intensifying its attacks, showing her terrifying visions, whispering her deepest, most secret insecurities. But with every small victory, with every moment she refused to give in to the terror, she felt its presence weaken. The shadows seemed less oppressive, the whispers fainter. She was starving the beast. The climax came one stormy night, when the demon unleashed its full power. The lights went out, the wind howled, and her studio was filled with the deafening sound of her own screaming heartbeat. It showed her visions of failure, of loneliness, of her worst nightmares realized. But this time, Maya was ready. She stood in the center of the darkness, and instead of cowering, she spoke to it. She acknowledged her fear. She accepted it as a part of her, but she refused to let it control her. She yelled into the void, "I am not your food." And then, silence. A profound, peaceful silence she hadn't known in months. The oppressive weight lifted. The shadows retreated. The demon, starved of its only source of sustenance, was gone. Maya wasn't magically cured of her anxiety. The struggles were still there, but the monster was gone. She had faced the literal demon that fed on her fear and won, and in doing so, she found a new strength to face the metaphorical demons within. Her story serves as a chilling yet empowering reminder. Our fears, when left unchecked, can feel like monstrous entities consuming our lives. But we hold the power. We have the ability to face them, to understand them, and ultimately, to starve them of their power over us. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this story compelling, please hit that like button and subscribe for more dives into the unknown. Stay safe and don't let the shadows bite. Have you ever heard of the Amityville house? You know, the one with those creepy, E-like windows that stare out at you? For decades, it's been the star of books and horror movies, hailed as America's most haunted house. But how much of that terrifying story is actually true? Today, we're going to separate fact from fiction and uncover the real story behind 112 Ocean Avenue. Let's rewind to November 13th, 1974. On that tragic night, the quiet town of Amityville, New York, was shaken to its core. Inside the beautiful Dutch colonial home, 23-year-old Ronald DeFeo Jr. took a rifle and systematically murdered his entire family. His parents, 2 brothers, and 2 sisters, all while they slept in their beds. It was a horrific crime that left the community stunned. When police arrived, they found a scene of unbelievable tragedy. DeFeo Jr. initially claimed the mafia was responsible, but his story quickly fell apart. He later confessed, simply stating, "Once I started, I just couldn't stop." He was convicted of 6 counts of second-degree murder and sentenced to 25 years to life in prison. The motive? It remains a subject of debate, with theories ranging from family arguments to hearing voices. But this undisputed real-life tragedy was only the beginning of the Amityville legend. Just over a year later, in December 1975, the Lutz family, George, Kathy, and their 3 children moved into the house. They bought it for a bargain price, fully aware of its dark history. But they didn't last long. Just 28 days later, they fled the house, leaving all their possessions behind. They claimed they were terrorized by paranormal phenomena. Their story is what became the basis for the book, The Amityville Horror, and the many movies that followed. The Lutzes reported a whole host of terrifying events. Swarms of flies in the dead of winter, strange odors, cold spots, green slime oozing from the walls, and a demonic, pig-like creature with glowing red eyes named Jody. George Lutz claimed he would wake up every morning at 3:15 a.m., the estimated time of the DeFeo murders, and Kathy said she was levitated in her sleep. Sounds like the perfect recipe for a horror movie, right? Well, that's where things get complicated. Almost immediately after their story went public, doubts began to surface. Skeptics and investigators started picking apart the Lutz's claims. For example, there were no records of police being called to the house during their 28-day stay. Despite their claims of paranormal emergencies, the Red Room, or portal to hell, they described in the basement, was just a small storage space known to the DeFeo family. Weather records showed there was no snowstorm on the day they claimed to see giant hoofprints outside. Even the priest who supposedly blessed the house and was told by a demonic voice to get out later changed his story, giving conflicting accounts over the years. So, was it all a hoax? Many people believe so. Ronald DeFeo Jr.'s own lawyer, William Weber, came forward and said he, along with the Lutzes, created this horror story over many bottles of wine. He claimed they planned to invent a story to make money from a book deal, hoping it could help with a new trial for DeFeo. The Lutzes always denied this, sticking to their story until their deaths. But the evidence against them is pretty compelling. Other families who lived in the house before and after the Lutzes have reported absolutely nothing unusual. They lived normal, quiet lives there. The house itself has since been renovated, and those iconic E-like windows are now gone. Ultimately, the Amityville story is a tale of two tragedies. The first is the very real and heartbreaking story of the DeFeo family's murder. The second is how that tragedy was potentially spun into a sensational ghost story for profit. Whether you believe the Lutz's account or see it as a clever hoax, the legend of the Amityville horror has left a permanent mark on pop culture. What do you think? Was the house truly haunted, or was it an elaborate fabrication? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like and subscribe for more mysteries. See you next time. Have you ever heard of the Loudun possessions? It's a chilling story from 17th century France that feels like it's straight out of a horror movie. But it really happened. At the center of it all was a nun named Sister Jean d'Anger, or Sister Agnes, and her claims would spark one of the most famous and controversial cases of mass possession in history. It all began in 1632 at an Ursuline convent in the small town of Loudun. Sister Agnes, the mother superior of the convent, was a respected but somewhat troubled figure. She came from a noble family, but had suffered a childhood injury that left her with a physical disability. Despite this, she was known for her intelligence and strong will. One night, she began experiencing terrifying visions. She claimed a priest named Urbain Grandier was appearing to her, tempting her with impure thoughts. Soon, other nuns in the convent started reporting similar experiences. They writhed in convulsions, spoke in strange voices, and shouted blasphemies. The convent was thrown into chaos. The nuns claimed they were possessed by demons, and they all pointed the finger at one man, Urbain Grandier. Grandier was a charismatic and handsome priest, but he had a reputation. He was known for being a womanizer and had made powerful enemies, including Cardinal Richelieu, one of the most influential men in France. The local authorities were called in, and the situation escalated into a full-blown public spectacle. Exorcisms were performed daily in front of large crowds. The nuns' behavior became more and more dramatic. They contorted their bodies into unnatural positions and revealed secrets about people present in the room, things they could impossibly have known. The exorcists declared that the demons possessing the nuns had been sent by Grandier through a pact he made with the devil. But was it real possession or something else? Historians and psychologists have debated this for centuries. Some believe it was a case of mass hysteria, a psychological phenomenon where a group of people share delusions. The convent was a closed, high-stress environment, and Sister Agnes was a powerful and influential figure. Her initial claims could have easily spread to the other suggestible nuns. Others point to political motivations. Grandier's enemies saw a golden opportunity to get rid of him. The trial was a sham, based on coerced testimony and spectral evidence, basically. The demon's words, spoken through the nuns. Tragically, Urbain Grandier was found guilty of witchcraft and sorcery. He was brutally tortured, but never confessed. In 1634, he was burned at the stake. But the story doesn't end there. The possessions at the convent continued for several years. Sister Agnes herself became a bit of a celebrity. She traveled around France, displaying the names of saints that she claimed miraculously appeared on her hands. Eventually, she wrote an autobiography detailing her experiences. The case of Sister Agnes and the Loudun possessions remains a haunting reminder of how fear faith, and power can collide. It raises uncomfortable questions about belief, mental health, and the nature of evil. Was it a genuine supernatural event, a tragic case of mass hysteria, or a cynical political plot? We may never know for sure, but the story continues to fascinate and disturb us hundreds of years later. What do you think really happened in Loudun? Let me know your theories in the comments. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into history's strangest mysteries.